And joining us now is the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee, Congressman Adam Smith from Washington. Congressman, thank you for coming in. You heard there what Netanyahu said, his response to that tragic strike. With his moves and decisions already under such scrutiny, meaning Netanyahu, what's your reaction to this?
Well, two big things. One, it really underscores how important it is to get a ceasefire at this point in the conflict, something that the Biden administration has been trying to negotiate for several months now. And in the last, I don't know, 3-4 weeks, there has been a clear offer on the table to exchange Palestinian prisoners for the Israeli hostages and get an extended ceasefire lasting over a month that Hamas has rejected. And it's hard for Israel to agree to a ceasefire without the release of the hostages. So we need to get that agreement, and Hamas needs to agree to what was put on the table. And then the second point is the need to increase humanitarian assistance in Gaza. I was there just a couple of weeks ago at the Rafah crossing and met with Israeli leadership, including the prime minister. And the lack of humanitarian assistance getting into Gaza is a major problem and something that Israel needs to step up and increase without question. But this incident, this tragic, terrible incident, illustrates how hard that is to do while the fighting is going on. Now, even if the fighting continues, humanitarian assistance needs to increase. But we need to get a ceasefire to make sure that the humanitarian assistance can get in without these types of tragedies happening.
Do you think that this tragedy specifically, do you think this shakes the goodwill of the Biden administration in their continued support of Netanyahu? I mean, we know publicly and privately there have been tough conversations to be had, but this World Central Kitchen resonates so much with people around the United States and around the world. We see World Central Kitchen and Jose Andres at every natural disaster. They're first to help. They can't do more. They do such good things, and they were there trying to get the humanitarian assistance to people. Does this shake that goodwill?
Well, I think, look, the humanitarian crisis that exists in Gaza right now, is what the Biden administration is really concerned about and has been pushing. I think certainly this amplifies that problem, but it's a horrific situation all the way around that the Biden administration is trying to find a way to get Israel and Hamas to get to a ceasefire. Now, I do think part of the problem here is Hamas has been unaccountable in all of this. They have no incentive at this point. Well, they have a clear incentive, and that is the protection of the Palestinian people. That does not seem to be a priority, but they seem to think that they're winning the PR campaign. I mean, the UN refuses to even condemn Hamas while calling for a ceasefire. So what's going to force Hamas to accept that ceasefire at this point? Yes, it continues to push the Biden administration to find some solution to this, but it takes both Israel and Hamas to agree to that ceasefire right now. And I hope some pressure will be exerted on Hamas to accept what has been on the table for weeks now.
I want to also ask you about Iran says that Israel took out 7 of its officers, including a senior commander of the IRGC, in strikes in Syria, hitting an Iranian embassy complex in Damascus. The White House says that the United States conveyed to Iran that the U.S. was not involved and didn't know about it ahead of time. Yet Iran has come out saying that they hold the United States responsible for the attack, saying the United States should be answerable, is how they put it. How serious was this strike? How concerned are you about it in retaliation?
Well, I'm very concerned about it, but the Iranian claim is ridiculous. They want to blame America for absolutely everything. They've been in a conflict with Israel. They've been funding Hezbollah. They've been funding Hamas. They've been funding a variety of different threats and attacks on Israel for quite some time now. They know they're in that conflict. It's not driven by the United States. It's driven by the fact that Iran has made it very clear that they want to wipe Israel off the map, and Israel is defending itself against that attack. Now, this specific strike, I don't know the ins and outs of why Israel felt like this was an appropriate strike to take in that conflict. But if Iran wants to stop this sort of thing, they need to stop advocating for the elimination of Israel. But the U.S. has no responsibility for this. This is Israel and Iran in a conflict that I think we're all very painfully aware of. But the big concern here is the spread of the conflict. It's something we've been trying to contain since October 7th. With the rockets and the weapons that Hezbollah has just up to the north in Lebanon and what Iran has been shipping across Syria for some time, there's a real risk of this spreading into a larger conflict that engulfs the entire Middle East. So we have to keep working to try and contain that in any way we can.
Yeah. Congressman, it's always great to have you on. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for the chance.